welcome to the All Things Good podcast. I am your coach and your host, Giovanna Cirillo. Today, we are going to be talking about navigating depression. I have a lovely guest by the name of Ayisha Muhammad. She's a mother of two beautiful daughters. She's earned her degree within the past 4 years, 2 degrees, not just one, 2 degrees within the past 4 years. She has her own company. She's a healthcare administrator, and she also has a distribution company for CBD and hemp. She's doing all of this while being diagnosed with depression. Help me by welcoming Ayisha Muhammad. Welcome, Ayisha. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, not too bad. I'm excited to have you on here. Yeah. I just going over your bio and just looking at everything that you have accomplished. And I know there's still so much more. All that while being diagnosed with depression. Like, come on. So I'm just excited about this because I want our listeners to know that just because you have been diagnosed with whatever it is, there's still an opportunity for you to thrive, to go after your dreams, to do what you want to do. And so tell me, at what age, Ayisha, were you diagnosed with depression?
Oh, sorry about that. So I would say clinically, because it took me some time to fully understand what was happening with me. So clinically, I was diagnosed at the age of 34.
Really? So you're saying it took you some time to figure out what was wrong with you? What was going on?
Wow. The emotions. I wasn't able to control myself as much as I really wanted to, and like say something would happen and I would feel disrespected personally. I wouldn't know how to express that effectively. And it would affect my moods. And even though I would still show up the best that I could, I was hurt and I was sad inside and I wouldn't fully express myself. So if things would get to a certain point, I would act erratically and lash out, and I wouldn't know how to fully express that I was hurt, and I wouldn't know how to contain my anger, and sometimes it would just go over the top, and it will end up messing me up in the end, and I would jeopardize and like self-sabotage certain opportunities for myself.
So at the age of 34, that must have been like, how did that even, like what, if you don't mind sharing with our listeners, what brought you to that point where you went to a doctor and they just diagnosed you and said, hey, this is what you're dealing with?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking that. Personally, I wanted to know what was wrong with me. I wanted to know, well, I thought something was wrong with me. So I wanted to go speak about it. And when I was given the test, I took the test and I was given the results, and it came back as moderate, depression and slight mild anxiety. So I was diagnosed with both. And that was a shock to me because you think of depression, you think of, oh, someone is down, they're negative, they're always thinking about the past, they're dwelling on a certain event. So I really didn't know I was functioning with depression, and that all along I just needed someone to really talk to and get to the root of those problems.
Okay, so they just said, hey, this is what's going on. Like, what, did you spiral after that? Or it was just
no, actually, I was pretty open-minded, and it was more so like, okay, that's what it is,
Okay.
Because I started to look around at my family, and my own mother, personally, she has depression and she admits to it, even though she hasn't gotten the clinical diagnosis for it. So I started to study her and realize certain patterns and behaviors in her and her family members and, close people close to me. So just looking around and realizing that this was happening in the family, and that a lot of people were afraid to feel, so they would self-harm and self-sabotage certain things and self-destruct. They weren't really open to speaking on the issues and the problems. So I was more open to exploring these feelings and why I was so emotional and I felt so sensitive, and I wanted to help and I wanted to speak with someone. So I sought out therapy.
Awesome. That's good to know that, you were worried about yourself. A lot of people, they don't have the courage, and I'm not trying to, shame anyone, but a lot of people they look at depression, they look at going to therapy, and they look at it as something that is negative. They look at it as something that is weak.
Yes.
And with today's society, or maybe not today, because now mental health is coming more, like people are actually accepting it. But
Yes.
people back then, our grandmothers, our uncles, our aunts, even maybe our mothers would
Mhm.
have never admitted to such a thing, or they would have just buried everything.
Sweep it under the rug. There's the family secrets. There's the auntie in the back room no one wants to talk about, so.
Exactly, exactly. So I commend you for that. I commend you for just saying, for being self-aware and saying something is going on and I need to find out what, get to the bottom of it.
Right.
So was there a particular situation that caused you to just say, like, was it just a series of events, or was there one particular case that caused you to say, you know what, I need to seek therapy?
Well, the most catastrophic event to date was losing my father in 2020. And it took me a whole year to fully process it. And he was normally my rock and my anchor. He really kept me grounded. He gave me straight wisdom and knowledge. And anytime I would have any issues, he would be the person I would call. So when he passed away, a part of me died too. And it took a lot for me to admit that I needed help, because I was so used to doing, I'm the giver, I'm the healer, so I would always figure it out. But I came to realize that it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do everything alone. You can do anything you want to do, but you don't have to do everything. So when I realized I would feel these feelings, and I'm really good at, I'm very emotionally aware, and I know myself. So when I would feel anger or rage or frustration, I would get to the root of the problem. So after investigating it, say someone, like I have expectations of someone, but it's myself putting those expectations on them. So I'm projecting these things onto them, and I'm breaking my heart every time they don't meet those expectations. So realizing that all along I'm expecting more of someone than they want for themselves, and it would hurt me more than it would hurt them. So that was like this self-realization, and that was mostly what was happening because I was surrounded by people who weren't working on themselves or thriving or trying to get to the bottom of their problems. So I would overcompensate for them and do myself a disservice by overextending myself. And I would be let down because I, again, put those expectations on that person. So when I realized that it would make me frustrated due to someone else's lack of their ability to work on themselves, I realized after I would lash out about it and express myself in the most negative way, I felt bad. I felt bad about it afterwards. I never wanted to get to that point. So when I realized how sensitive I was to that and how good of a person I rather have been, that's when I started to speak with the therapist. After losing my father and not having him there to be that one to bring me back to the center, I felt it was better to speak to someone on the outside, non-biased, and really get these things out.
Wow. I'm so sorry for your loss. I know that that had to have been something that was completely life changing, especially for someone who's has that bond with their father. So I can only imagine and I can't say that I can put myself in your shoes. It's just knowing that, losing someone that you rely on so strongly and then suddenly they're gone. I can't imagine. And I sincerely send my condolences for that.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed. I'm amazed that someone who can go through so much. And I mean, you sent me your bio, and I'm just like, wow, she's overcome so much. And just chatting with you, and it's amazing to see you still full of joy, still full of light, still full of hope, still sharing love. Like I'm just
For
like,
sure.
it's amazing. So, what
Thank
are
you.
some common misconceptions of depression? What can you say about that?
Well, I can only speak for myself and my community. I would say it's more so the misconception of oneself. If you don't know who you truly are, you have to take a look at yourself, what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and why you're feeling that way, and investigate further. Or say if you're disrespected, that's a trigger. You want to investigate that trigger and get to the bottom of it, of why are you even so upset to begin with. And 9 times out of 10, it's in your mind. It's all your perception of what's happening. And 10 times out of 10 your reaction to it. So I just felt like it was best for me to do the work. And I can only speak for myself when I say I just thought depression was to be just down and not happy, not full of life, the total opposite of what I am. So I was very shocked by that diagnosis, but I'm learning that everyone has a moment of depression. Not everyone is the same all the time. People have different personalities. People have bipolar. People aren't always going to feel the same way all the time. So this is normal, and not everyone is able to recognize that. And if they are hurt, they're not able to effectively admit that, because
Right.
it all comes with self-awareness. Like, oh, my feelings are hurt. This is why. So address the problem. Or going back to childhood, how you were raised and the environment and the household that you come from, things occurred within certain, proximity of certain family members that aren't addressed. And then you're still associated with these people in this environment, and it's toxic and it's an unhealthy dynamic. And you aren't really sure why you're not thriving or you're not able to do better for yourself. And then if you want to do better for yourself, you're going to make those necessary changes. So that was really my thing. I wasn't aware of me being depressed. And once I got that diagnosis, it was confirmation that it was more work that I needed to do on myself. I didn't want to stay that way. I didn't want to be angry and upset with certain people, so I just wanted to fix that.
I love that you take accountability. It's not just, obviously people around you can be triggers, but the fact that you are able to recognize that, hey, there's some things I have to deal with and I need to get myself right. And we're always doing the work, right? We're always improving and growing and healing, and it's never linear. It's always, we have our moments. And I just love that you were able to do that for you.
Thank you.
So how did you navigate that with like people around you? Speaking of triggers, like okay, so let's say you were diagnosed that you have depression. And so how did you begin to look outwardly? I know you were looking inwardly, but how did you begin to look outwardly and begin to look at the people you were connected to? Did you begin to change atmospheres? Did you begin to do things outwardly so that you can better, improve yourself?
Absolutely. I had to change my environment, for one, remove myself, and set boundaries. And being an independent single mom, I was already living on my own. So it wasn't hard for me to detach myself from people connected to me. And realizing certain environments where I didn't feel safe, and certain individuals where my nervous system wasn't really, at ease, and noticing toxic behaviors and cycles and patterns, and other individuals helped me to realize that this isn't what I wanted around myself, because consumption is everything from what you put in your body to what you have around your body. So just realizing that I didn't want to be like this person helped me to become more of who I am today. So definitely isolation and separation, and going inward and looking outward at everything around me and realizing, is this thriving? Is this helping me?
Right. Right. And I like the fact that you mentioned boundaries, because I don't think people truly understand the importance of boundaries. I mean, if you're I'm like all about boundaries. I'm a boundary coach. I teach people how to begin to implement them and the importance of it. People need to realize that it is so key for our mental health.
It is.
Because I see it as a garden. I did a podcast before talking about the boundaries. And I see it as a garden, right? And in this garden, you have, all your plants laid out, you have your fence. If your fence is not locked or your fence is not put up, then anyone can come and take from that garden. They're picking at your trees, they're picking at your fruit.
Yes.
And then you realize that you're wondering why there's so much going on in you emotionally, mentally, because the things that you thought were there for you are no longer there because you didn't place your boundaries, and now everything that you had for you is gone.
Yeah.
Everyone else has pieces of you, right? And so I love that you mentioned the boundaries, because I want listeners to know that boundaries are important. Like, I know saying no may be tough.
Yeah.
And distancing yourself from people and situations may be tough, but the moment that you begin to say no and place that line, I can guarantee you that your life will begin to change. And I'm sure that's what took place with you.
Exactly. I had to choose myself. I had to look
Yes.
at me. I had to get back to knowing who I was. Who was Ayisha, you know? Get back to that person, not the mom, you know, not the daughter, not the sister, not the girlfriend, not the wife or whatnot. But it's like, who am I? What do I like? What's
Right.
my goals? And what is anything that's going to disrupt my path, you know? So just removing myself, changing my environment, relocating to a more healthier dynamic, whether it be a job, whether it be a residence, you know. So I wasn't against taking a good look at myself from the outside and seeing what would be best for me to do.
Right. And so when you were diagnosed with depression, were
Hmm.
you already a mother at that time?
I was a mother. I have an 18-year-old right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so how did she like did you communicate that with her? Was that something that you just decided to keep to yourself?
Um,
Because you want to be able to explain to your kids certain situations, but sometimes there should be that boundary with your kids as well. So how did you navigate that?
that is true. So to be honest with you, my daughter Alani, she came with me. We both were So we were navigating the loss of her father as well, before the loss of my father. So
Mhm.
we both were diagnosed at the same time by the same doctor after taking
Wow.
the same. So we got the results at the same time. And then we had a conversation about it. And, you know, she was down. She would show the signs of it, classic, you know, depression, not really wanting to be here on earth anymore, you know, to that point. And we both got therapy for it. And they did prescribe me medication at the time. I didn't want to agree to her having any medication. We were going to just do the therapy and work on the things that she liked to do a lot more. And there was certain plans in place for her treatment. But for myself, I was given medication, and I was given 3 months worth of Zoloft. And honestly, it didn't make me feel good. The first week of me taking it, I didn't feel like myself anymore. I actually felt more like a zombie. My feelings weren't really there. So it
Wow.
took away that. And I didn't like that feeling. So I I stopped. I discontinued, and I told my doctor that I just wasn't feeling like that was the answer, and I wanted to look more into holistic ways of treatment for that.
I love that. I
Mhm.
am not going to say that I'm against,
Right.
medication, but
And it does help some people. I've heard
it
some
does.
cases where it has been like a miracle for them, and I'm not necessarily against it. I just know it didn't work for me.
Right. So what was your approach to your holistic, approach to navigating and combating depression?
Well, for one, I decided to do more self-care. I decided to meditate more. I was actually raised and I was born Muslim, so a lot of those principles that I was instilled with, I was able to go back to my foundation. And fasting for sure.
Mm.
I would fast during Ramadan and fast throughout the months of the year, changing my lifestyle and my diet, eating way more fruits, drinking more teas, drinking way more coconut water, you know, staying active, staying productive, and giving my body and my mind permission to rest. I wasn't in go mode and like survival mode so much. I realized that it's okay to slow down, you know, and it's okay to keep a balance. You can still go hard and live a soft life. So just self realization, that's really what it comes back to.
I love that. I love your whole approach. Like this is important to know, especially when it comes to, I love what you said. You said what? It's the balance. It's still good. Okay, to hustle and live a soft life. Can you repeat that one more time?
Okay to go hard and still live a soft life. It really is.
Yes. I love that because
Thank
we're conditioned and we're programmed to go, go, go and push, 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 despite how we feel, despite if our body's even responding to it. And the fact that you said, I realized that it was okay to slow down. Good for your mental health. I
you.
need people to understand this because we have to break out of that mentality. It's like I see both sides of the coin, right? Like you said, there's a balance. We have to not get lazy. Like we can never get to a point where we're lazy.
Right.
But rest it's not equivalent to laziness.
No.
Rest is important for
Mhm.
all aspects of your life.
Yes.
So I love that. So you said meditation,
Yes.
self-care, do you play sports? Are you in the artistry? Like
I go to the gym. I go to the gym. I go often. I do boot camps. I do different aerobics and exercises and yogas and just crossing off my checklist of things that I like to do. From skydiving, I make mental health days, and I make a point of doing more things that I love, because in most of my life I've been taking care of other people, and
Mhm.
I wasn't really taught how to take care of myself. So I'm learning more about the things that I like, and I'm going after it.
So freaking good because it's like I see it. It's like when people get, I mean, I don't know because I can't say that I know, but I can only imagine that when people hear, oh my God, I have depression, it might put them back like into an even worse place, right? Because no one wants to be diagnosed with this.
Right.
But you just decided to say, you know what? I'm going to live my life to the fullest.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this around the best to my ability because we have that, we have that capacity to change
Right.
things around.
Yes.
And so you said, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go skydiving. I'm gonna play sports. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna take care of myself. You didn't allow that to bring you down, and I love that.
And and of course my daughters, they're always watching me. My 18-year-old is right here looking at me, so these are the things that I'm looking at, and just being more mindful and thoughtful and intentional, going outside in nature and grounding, all these things are helpful for your mental and your physical and your spiritual health.
Yes, 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 yes. That's amazing, Ayisha. So what are some things that you can say to those who may be struggling with depression right now or anxiety, and they're looking to, just get out. They're looking to get out the funk. They're looking to do something different.
I would say get into journaling and writing down your feelings, for one, and all the things that you want to do, and go after it. You have to go inside and really find out what it is that you want and go after it. Really see what's stopping you from getting from point A to point B, and realize that stay present. Once you stay present, you're not thinking about the past. Depression is more so about things that already happened. Anxiety, you're anticipating things to happen. If you stay present right where you are, then you're able to fully enjoy the moment, and you'll have a more open mind and a lighter heart, because not so much is happening in the present moment. It's just you and I here, as you can see.
Mhm.
So it's like once you stay present, you're more centered, and then
Right.
to receive better downloads from the higher source, and you can go after everything that you want to do. And then, like I said, changing your lifestyle, doing things that's different from what you used to do. And if you know that you don't feel okay, it's okay to not be okay. What are you going to do about it? What are you willing to do about that? What are you going to do to change how you feel? That's the most important thing about it, because we're all going to go through certain things, but what are you going to do? What is your reaction to that?
I love that. I love that you said the moment because I had to learn that these past almost 2 to 3 years, just went through a major change in my life, lost some friends, lost some people, things just began to shift in my life. And I realized that I started to have anxiety. Never did I realize that I had some form of anxiety.
Mhm.
And it was because there was so much pressure to be, to focus on the future, or so much pressure to look on the past. And because, I know that, and when it comes to healing, we have to look at our past, right? To actually mend everything together. I was in the religious system for some time, and it was always, reflecting on the past, and, or going to the future. What do we have to do? What do we have to do? And it's just like, I finally said, but what about the journey? Like, what about having fun?
Mhm.
What about actually the present moment? Why are we so stuck on the past and the future, but we're not focusing on now? We're focused here and there, but we're losing the actual moment. I mean, we lost friendships, we lost relationships, we lost joy, we lost fun because we were not present.
Mhm.
And so being in the moment is so important. Like we were so caught up in everything else instead of those things that are right in front of us. I like that you mentioned that. That's very helpful. So, okay, so you're a healthcare administrator
I
and
am.
you have a distribution company for hemp and CBD. So tell me about that.
About the distribution company?
Yeah, and your healthcare administration company, because I mean, the fact that you were diagnosed with depression, I'm saying diagnosed and not struggling because you are definitely not struggling. Like I believe there's power in words, right? And I
Mhm.
know you would never agree to say, because I think you know this too. You would
Right,
never agree to say that I'm struggling with depression, but the fact that you were diagnosed with depression,
right.
how do you navigate that with your companies, with two companies?
I show that it's possible, that even though you were diagnosed with something, you don't have to subscribe to that. It's okay. You don't have to dwell. You don't have to stay there. You know, I feel great. I feel amazing. And I'm told that every day that I'm amazing, and I know that I am. So just because you're given a certain diagnosis doesn't mean you have to clinically live by that. You know, you can just overcome and you can just keep showing up, being your best self every single day, and you can change that. You can change that diagnosis.
Yes, exactly. So did you already have the company when you were diagnosed with depression, or was that something that you did afterwards?
Um, well, so I first began I Care for You initially officially in 2019. So I started my company before receiving the diagnosis. And it was while I was working with someone that I realized that I had anxiety because I would get panic attacks and I would realize that I would be overly emotionally invested. And if things wasn't going the way that I thought they should go from a medical standpoint, it would be frustrating to me to the point where I wasn't able to effectively communicate that. And
Okay.
it would seem as if like I was literally asked why did I care so much, you know? So being asked that made me take several steps back and really reevaluate the whole situation. And that was a great question, why? And it was because I was diagnosed as a highly sensitive person as well. So after taking these tests and getting these results, it's like, okay, so this is what's going on. So now how do I apply this to my everyday life? I love to help people. That's what makes me feel good. It's like therapy for me. Helping people helps me. So even if I tried to do something else, I would always go back to helping someone. So I just decided to be uh, as open as possible, as positive as possible, and shine my light as bright as I possibly could, and just overcome that diagnosis and just be an example and be like, you know, I help all types of people from single moms to people learning how to thrive outside of the struggle. And so I kind of just wanted to be more of a poster child, I guess, for that diagnosis to say, hey, this is possible. Just keep
Mhm.
going. Don't stop there. Because you're given that diagnosis doesn't mean sit there and just be that. That means you should get up and do something about it.
Right. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Ayisha. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've taken something away. She said so much today when it comes to depression. There are so many ways that you can begin to actually, like, not, I don't even think you're fighting it. I think you're just going with it. Like, does that make sense?
You're flowing through it. You're growing through it.
Yes, she's flowing and going through the depression. She's not allowing it to stop her from her dreams, from her goals, from being a mother, from being a business owner. It's amazing to hear this. Thank you so much, Ayisha, for your time today. Is there any last words that you have? How can we follow you? How can we find you, your business?
Okay, so I have Capital Healthcare. That's my home care agency. You can follow me on Instagram as Queen Ish. I also have a Pop Queen Instagram for my pop business, so I can provide that to you. And if you wanted to list it somewhere,
Okay, I definitely will. Well, Aisha, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. You're an inspiration. I know your story will touch many people today.
I just want to thank you too, right here,
Oh,
on your platform. I appreciate you, and I really am grateful for your existence. And you're out here doing God's work, and you're just being such a bright light. And I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you.
thank you, Aisha. Have a great one, okay?
You as well. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.